Two of the most powerful similes in the Odyssey appear in the description of the blinding of the Cyclops. Odysseus describes how he prepared a large olive branch with a sharpened end, and together with his men, used it to put out the eye of the monster. He describes how he guided the branch while his men rotated it. He was, quote, like a man with a brace and bit who bores into a ship timber. He thus uses a simile from shipbuilding, one of the arts of which the Cyclopses are ignorant. The description of the blinding of Polyphemus continues with a gruesome account of how his eye reacted to the hot pole. Quote, as when a man who works as a blacksmith plunges a screaming great axe blade or plane into cold water, treating it for temper, since this is the way steel is made strong. Even so, Cyclops' eye sizzled about the beam of the olive. The simile is drawn from the work of the blacksmith, another art which the Cyclopses are lacking since they have no metallurgy. With the use of these similes, the author seems to imply that Odysseus is able to outsmart the Cyclops and cause him harm due to the fact that he has knowledge of certain things that come with developed civilization and culture. He's able to think up the plan to put out the eye of the Cyclops since he has some familiarity with the work of a shipbuilder and a blacksmith. Thus, human knowledge is not something that one is born with, but instead comes from learning in the context of culture. The Cyclopses are ignorant and rely on brute force since they have no cultural basis from which to learn new things. Odysseus outsmarts the Cyclops in two instances. First, by telling him that his name is Nobody, Odysseus anticipates that this will prevent the other Cyclopses from coming to Polyphemus' aid. Indeed, in the critical moment when Odysseus and his men injure him by putting out his eye, Polyphemus attempts to call for help, but when he says nobody is harming him, then they simply think he is confused and leave. Second, in order to escape from the cave, Odysseus has his men cling to the Cyclops' sheep, which the Cyclops allows to leave. Carefully concealed between two sheep, the men are able to escape the detection of the blinded Polyphemus. In both cases, Odysseus lives up to his epithet as cunning or crafty. He conceives a plan and puts it into action instead of acting impetuously. Indeed, he initially wanted simply to stab the drunken Polyphemus in his sleep, but realized that if he did this, he and his men would have no way to escape the cave since it would have been impossible for them to move the heavy boulder that served as a doorstop. This causes him to revise his plan to one that proved successful. He praises himself for his, quote, perfect planning. The use of calculation and reasoning is precisely the advantage of human life over nature. Odysseus' quality of rational reflection and calculation can be seen as contrasting to the rashness and impetuousness of Achilles, the great hero from the Iliad.